Okay, man.
Okay, put your boots on. You're watching Much Ado About Something today, and I'm Donna. Well, I thought we'd go out in the backyard and check out the little vegetable garden and see how things are going there this morning. Eli's with me. He's putting his boots on. He's just going to sit outside and get him some vitamin D. The little garden's doing really good. We had a real heavy rain last night. In fact, it was flash flood warning, so everything got really watered well, and that's a good thing. I got a little tomato struggling there, but all the rest of them look like they're doing good. This is the struggling one right here. Not sure what's going on with that, but if it doesn't catch up soon, I'm just going to take it out and redo it. Put something else there. That's the biggest tomato right here. Got a lot of the tomatoes growing. The cucumbers are doing really well. Donald harvested yesterday, and I harvested this morning, and I got a little basket full. Got a little basket full of cucumbers, and then I got a zucchini and a few little squash. And that's a pretty good mess to harvest this morning. I'll have to incorporate those into our meals today. Maybe make another cucumber salad or just some fresh cucumber chips. That zucchini will be good in a lot of different things, and so will those little tender squash there. Everything's well watered, it's growing really good. It's really time to get in there and weed. We hadn't had too many weeds, and that's a good thing. Just a few here and there. But everything's big, has plenty of blooms on it. As you can see, everything's tightly planted together because, you know, we're limited on space. So we just put them as close together as we can and still get around to harvest. We try to leave little paths around. And this is a good little garden to harvest without having, you know, paths or straight rows. You know, we don't have a lot of room here, so there's not enough room to just have rows of things. We planted the things that we like to eat the most, which is tomatoes, squash, cucumbers. Those are the things that we eat the most. And because those are the things that we enjoy the most out of our garden, that's what we have in this small little garden. Of course, if you've been watching my videos, you know that this is a new garden here. We just put this garden here this year. It's a no dig, no till method. We've got about 5 inches of wood chips that we let compost on our property, and from a tree that Donald chopped down, or we had chopped down. That tree we paid to have it cut down. And we've got compost, homemade compost, and soil mix. And it's about 4 to 5 inches here on this garden. And if you watch that video, you know we just, Donald formed this out, cleaned off the grass, put down weed cloth. There's weed cloth under here. You can see a little bit of it right there sticking out. We put weed cloth up under it because we didn't have enough cardboard to put under it. We would have recycled and used cardboard did we have enough, but we didn't. So we just put weed cloth under it, and then we got a late start in planting. So our tomatoes and things are not real big. That's the biggest one right there. And it's about 3.5 feet tall, maybe. And the rest of them are just playing catch up, but they have blooms on them, so I think they're going to do all right. This is yellow squash. You can see there with my little marker that I made from recycled material, that we've got our yellow squash marked here. And there's the squash just producing. These plants are pretty tall right here. These yellow squash that I got from Baker's Creek Seed Company, they are really, really big squash plants. Doing well. Everything's doing well in this compost. Not a lot of weeds. I see a few, but not a lot compared to what it would normally be like. Gotta get a few more cucumbers that are hiding. Here's one that's hiding. Whenever it rains, you really have to check your cucumbers and things, because one night of rain can really produce a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. Gotta go put these in the basket. You can eat squash blossoms, but I never eat the blossoms. I rather wait on the fruit. Got plenty of blooms on these little cucumbers. This hasn't been fertilized. Now, the only thing that's been on this is the compost. What a wonderful, wonderful concept to be able to use your compost to fertilize your garden. So there's not been anything put on here. No no fertilizer, no bug spray. There's been nothing so far put on here. We do have a little munching on the cucumbers. That's probably those beetles that I've been battling have munched on the cucumbers. Instead of putting one cage over each tomato like we usually do, Donald is trying to just use the cage kind of like a stake and stake up the tomato onto the cage. That way we can get 2 tomatoes per cage, but there's nothing growing in the middle. We are going to maybe plant a late succession of tomatoes there in the middle. But we do have blooms, so we're looking for some tomatoes soon. That is a real treat, to get a homemade tomato a fresh homemade tomato, homegrown tomato out of your garden. That's always such a treat. That first tomato is so good. And we have tasted a few tomatoes from friends' gardens, but we have yet to get our own tomato. But we've got some blooms, and we're waiting for that fruit. And when we get that fruit, I'm hoping to share with you a fried bread recipe that we grew up making in the Appalachians. I'd like to share that with you. There is nothing like that fried bread with fresh homegrown tomatoes. It is delicious. But I wanted to show you the progress and the status of this little garden. It is by no means a huge farm. It's not going to supply all of our food by any means. This is just an addition to our diet with things that we really enjoy. Tomatoes, cucumbers, there's squash in here, several kinds of squash. So yes, we think it's well worth, even though we got this garden in a little late, we think it has been well worth the effort. We have been harvesting probably for the last 2 weeks. cucumbers. You can see the blooms. These cucumbers are just loaded with little blooms. It's always good to just plant the things that you enjoy eating yourself. That's probably the number one tip to gardening, is just plant what you really like. Plant what you will enjoy eating. Now this leaf looks a little rough. I'm going to go ahead and take this out in case it's some type of disease. It won't be spreading all over this garden. Sometimes you get a little bit of, and right here I see something has been nibbling right here. That looks like the beetles that I've been battling. Yeah, you don't want to waste your time planting food or having a garden, working a garden, and growing things that you don't even like, that you're not going to incorporate into your meals. So that's a good tip, is just to grow the food that you like. You'll get much more value out of your garden when you do that. But overall, I have to say, I'm very pleased with the no dig, no till method. I think it's really working for us. This is the first year that we hadn't tilled a garden, and we had mulch. So, well, we had the, composted wood chips from that tree that we had cut down 4 years ago. And then we had compost and then some soil we just mixed in with. And we didn't till this garden. We did it the way that I explained to you. Now I still have yet to plant anything in our little container garden that we have right here. I'm going to plant some basil in that, I think. I've got some extra basil plants. Man, this basil smells so good. It smells delicious. Now I've started these basil in these styrofoam cups. They have more than outgrown these cups. Look at the roots. This one already needs to be weeded in its little cup. So I'm just going to set these out today. Hopefully they can produce some basil. There's probably already enough on there to harvest. I think these will do good. They'll be worth the effort, worth the seeds and the effort. Very economical. This is that recycled tote that I use as a little garden that had the crack in it. I know these little basil are probably glad to be out of their tiny containers and they can spread their roots a little bit. So there we go. We got some basil planted in that little tub, and we'll see how that does. A small garden can be very economical. If you can't grow all of your food, just growing some additions to your meals, some things that you enjoy eating will relieve the pressure on your grocery budget if you have time to do this. If you have time to start a little garden, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just find you a little place or a little container and grow some things that you enjoy eating. That makes a world of difference. And then you can reap the rewards from it. You can pick a little basket of produce and take it in your house and enjoy it. I really appreciate the rain that came. So thankful for it. I never complain about the rain. Always glad to have it because, I don't want to have to water a garden on city water. So I'm always pleased to just let nature take its course and enjoy the water that comes, the good soaking that comes for these plants from a good rain. Our little bunnies are doing good. It's about time to separate these from Mama. This is Judy Hops. She's the mama. She has 4 little babies. So we'll be separating those little babies soon. Donald's got all the material to build a addition onto our rabbit area here. And those little bunnies sure are cute. They look just like their mama. They have a feeder right here. I just put a little bit of feed out there for the babies. Entice them to eat on their own. That's their little resting boards they have in there so they can get off the wire. Now this rabbit we bought, Donald bought 2 of these rabbits. He bought Judy and Peter. This is Peter. This is our male. And they will not drink out of water bottles. They prefer to drink out of a dish. And it has been a lot of work keeping Judy's dish full because she drinks a lot more water than she generally does, having these babies. Of course, it's time to take these babies away from Judy right now. But we are really enjoying our rabbits, I tell you. We have this New Zealand mama. And there's only 2 of her babies left. And we're going to build cages for those and keep one of those for our breeders. We've got this little bunny. It's a sweetie. She's a female, and we want to breed her soon. But we have to get some cages built in preparation for that. And this is a New Zealand bunny. Of course, he's the male. And then we have Gingy down here, and he's basically our pet. We love him. He loves to be petted. We had him in the house for a little while, and he does not know why he's out here, because he's wondering why we're not petting him like we usually do. But he is really growing up. He's getting filled out good. He'll also be a breeder. Now, it's rained for a few days. Well, it rained really heavily last night. And so everything looks wet, and there's some work that needs to be done out here. Donald and I have got to clean this area out and take care of our bunnies. Chickens are doing good this morning. Their lot is wet, of course, from the rain. We had flash floods, so it was a lot of rain. But they're still happy this morning. It's a little early yet to collect the eggs, so we'll do that in just a little bit. Here's our basil and our rosemary that's in containers. That's the purple basil and the rosemary. It's doing okay. Can't complain. Rosemary's looking really good. I'll probably have to transfer that to the perennial herb garden. And I'm anxious to try some of this purple basil. Well, this is our harvest for today. Thank you for joining me today and going out and checking on the little vegetable garden. I hope you have a good day. And like always, until next time.